Hey there, my name is Megan and welcome to my channel, or welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing a book review for Belladonna by ADALYN GRACE. Belladonna is a YA fantasy book. It is the first time I've ever read anything by this author, and I was gifted this by my good friend Andre, so thank you so much, Andre, for thinking of me when you bought this book. First off, I just want to say that I love the cover. I think it is gorgeous, and this is actually a special, not a special edition, first edition of this book. So if you take off the dust jacket, they do have like a decorative front cover and back cover, as well as end pages. So it's just a beautiful first edition. So I'm quite in love with the aesthetics of this book. I think it's gorgeous. The way I'm going to structure this review is I'm going to tell you what the book is about, discuss the things I liked, the things I didn't like, and then give the book an overall rating. In Belladonna, we're following a main character named Signa, and she's 19 years old, and she is set to inherit a lot of money once she turns 20. Her parents were part of high society. They died when she was young. After Signa's parents died, she went to live with her grandmother. Her grandmother passed away, and then she basically just jumped around to different distant relatives throughout the rest of her life. And every time she went to live with one of these distant relatives, something bad would happen to them and they would die. And for Signa's whole life, there have been some strange things about her. Number one, she is able to see spirits or ghosts, and she is also able to see death. So Death is a character in this book. He is literally called Death, and she interacts with them. He has a very much human persona, human characteristics, although he's not really human. After Signa's aunt dies, who she was living with, she is sent to live with the Hawthorns, which is just another distant family member, and they live at Thorn Grove, which is this beautiful estate. They have a lot of money, and they own Gray's, which is this string of gentlemen's club, and it's very prestigious, and that's where they get their money from. When Signa arrives there, she learns that the matron of Thorn Grove, Lillian, her aunt Lillian, has passed away, and their daughter Blythe is sick with the same illness that her mother Lillian was. And Signa is visited by Lillian's ghost, and Lillian tells her that she was actually murdered, but she doesn't know who murdered her, and that same murderer is in the house, and they are trying to kill her daughter Blythe as well, with the same type of poison. So because Signa can interact with spirits and ghosts and death, Lillian asks Signa to help figure out who murdered her, as well as help save her daughter from the same fate. Now I'm going to talk about the things that I liked about this book. So these are definitely personal preferences that made me really love this book. So I thought it was incredibly atmospheric. I just love old creepy houses and estates, especially that are haunted by ghosts. I thought that ADALYN GRACE did an excellent job conveying such an atmosphere of death and dreariness and sickness, using tons of imagery, tons of awesome word choices, and just her writing in general. Her prose was very lovely. I also really like books that involved characters in high society. So Signa is about to have her debut when she turns 20, and she'll come into her inheritance, and then she will, be eligible for marriage. And it was definitely a coming of age element to this, as Signa, is thinking about what she wants for herself and her future, and just the type of person that she wants to be and what would make her happy. So if you like coming of age stories, this definitely has a lot of those elements. I also like that Death was a character. So this is where some of the fantastical elements comes into the story, because you have Death, who ferries souls from this current world to the afterlife. There is a lot of themes around death and grieving and mourning and loss, and I felt like the author did address those issues very tactfully, while also not delving into them too deeply. And then going back to Death as a character, I just really liked him. I thought that she imagined Death as a character in a really unique way. He definitely wasn't an all-knowing being. He had limitations. His powers, I want to say, had limitations. And I really can't think of a lot of books where death is personified, so maybe that's why it impressed me so much. I do know that a lot of people had a problem with the relationship between Signa and Death, his character, because she does insinuate a romance between these two characters. And there is a fantastical element that revolves around Cigna as well. Like I said earlier, she can see spirits and she can see death. And I know some people express concern about the relationship, the romantic relationship between Death and Cigna, because Death is supposed to be like, has been around for a long, long time, and he's a lot older than her, and Cigna's so young. I mean, it's fantasy. Death is not like a real being, a real person. You just got to suspend your belief, in my personal opinion. And it just, that whole aspect didn't bother me at all. And the last thing I really liked was the twist at the end. So remember, this is a murder mystery with fantasy thrown in. And we were like halfway through and I was like, I know who it is. I know who the murderer is. I know what's going to happen. And I was humbled completely at the end because she threw in this twist that I was not expecting. And the murderer turned out to be someone I wasn't expecting. And the whole situation around it turned out to be what I was not expecting. And I feel like ADALYN Grace would be a really good thriller writer if she's able to throw those types of twists in. As for the things that I didn't like, there really wasn't a ton. So this book is kind of tropey. Cigna is the epitome of I'm not like other girls. And like I said, this is a coming of age story, and Death keeps telling Cigna that she doesn't have to be like all those other girls. She's different. She needs to come into her own. So if you don't like the I'm not like other girls trope, then this probably wouldn't work for you. Also, this book does have some modern feminist themes thrown in there. But personally, I found a lot of what she was trying to communicate contradictory. And just an example, Cigna was thinking to herself at one point that she didn't want to know if she wanted to get married and manage a house and cater to the whims of her husband, as it says in the book, those exact words. And I just felt like the author was communicating condescension towards women who choose to have a household and take pride in their household, to have a family and take pride in caring and loving for their family, and having a home that their children and husband can come to and feel love and comfort. And she was just like being very condescending towards women who choose that lifestyle. And yeah, it's not for everybody, and that's absolutely okay. And also, I didn't understand the whole catering to the whims of your husband thing, because the whole time, like the whole book, Cigna is thinking about marriage, who she's going to fall in love with, who she wants to have as a partner and someone she can share things with and grow old with. And there's a couple of suitors in the book and romantic interests in the book. And I'm just like, girl, if you don't want to cater to the whims of your husband, then why the heck are you even looking for one? Like, I cater to my husband's whims because I love him, and he caters to mine because he loves me. So if you're not willing to, you know, give 100% in a relationship and do things for someone because you love them, then why are you even looking? So for me, there was just a lot of contradiction between some of Cigna's concerns and her thoughts in parts of the book, and then her thoughts and actions in other parts of the book. All in all, Belladonna was a really, really engaging and fun read, and I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. This is a book that you could read on its own. The story does come complete circle, but there is another installment that is coming out or just came out called Foxglove, and we do get a hint at the end of this book what that book's going to be about. So it's just a new story surrounding Cigna and Death and her abilities with seeing ghosts and solving murders and that kind of thing, but you could definitely read Belladonna as a standalone. All right, you guys, that is it for my review of Belladonna by ADALYN Grace. Let me know in the comments if you read this book and what you thought of it, and I will see y'all in another video soon. Goodbye!